Welcome to my 31st Wild Watchers video. Today I will be talking about the movies I watched in the month of July 2018. I shall talk about them individually starting now. The first movie I watched was Exterminators of the year 3000. This was a okay movie. It was very cliche for the genre. The main character, he did not have any redeeming qualities. Even though he tried to redeem himself, he could never redeem himself for all the shit he pulled. He's the worst anti-hero I've seen in a long time. But the movie surrounding him is a lot of fun, and I like the kid in the movie. He's pretty fun, too. He's got some twists about him that are quite interesting. The second movie I watched was Alligator II, The Mutation. This was the let-down sequel to the classic 1980 film. I just feel so underwhelmed by this movie. It has some good qualities, some quirky characters, but it's just nothing compared to the first. It's like half as good, if that. The third movie I watched was The Last Dinosaur. This movie is gloriously cheesy. It has the right amount of sleaze, and it has just everything about it that can make it a cult classic to be loved by fans of dinosaurs. It's cheap, but it looks okay. But the dinosaurs are another story. Everything around them looks great, but the dinosaurs kind of look really dumb. The fourth movie I watched was The Giant Behemoth. This was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't the best dinosaur movie of that time, certainly wasn't the worst, and it had some cool parts to it. It was just like a rehash of the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Hell, it was even directed by the same guy. The fifth movie I watched was 1990, The Bronx Warriors. Classic Italian cinema. This was so much fun, and Trash is just an awesome character. Fred Williamson's in this movie. He steals the show, because, he's Williamson. He's Fred. He's Freddy. You can't fuck with Freddy. And he does kind of break his own rules in this movie, like how his set rules are something along the lines of he can't die, he has to get the girl in the end, and something else. I won't spoil exactly what happens, but he does break some of his own rules, which I thought was noble. The sixth movie I watched was Triassic World. This was a kick-ass movie. It was more of a survival inside of a building kind of story, not like a park or anything, but I really liked it. Had some great gore, cool dinosaurs, some decent CGI, great animatronics or puppets, and I liked the characters too, so there's that. The seventh movie I watched was The Lost World, the 2001 remake. In my opinion, the superior film to the 1925 classic. I love the 1925 classic, but the 2001 version is just amazing. The effects still hold up today, the story is so awesome, as are the characters. The eighth movie I watched was another Wolf Cop. Balls out. Literally. This movie is insane. And very gratuitous, sleazy, and gross, just how we like it for these kind of movies. The ninth movie I watched was Attack of the Sabretooth. As cheesy as I remember. There are some cool things about it, some good kills, good gore. The CGI is pretty bad most of the time, like 80% of the time, but the animatronic heads and some of the CGI is actually okay. The 10th movie I watched was Carnivore, Werewolf of London. This was a huge letdown, and I didn't like it at all, really. There was a couple shots that were pretty impressive, though, like how it jumps from a window and lands on the ground, or they have this one take that is actually pretty impressive, that I forgot to mention in my review, but still, this film did not work, in my opinion. A lot of elements that were just, didn't sit right with me. The 11th movie I watched was Escape from the Bronx, the sort of sequel to the first one. It didn't seem to really follow the first too much. It was kind of its own story, and with that, it worked. It was entertaining and had some cool kills, cool action, but not a lot of blood. The 12th movie I watched was the Jurassic Games. Fucking awesome movie. Also, there is a part I forgot to mention in my review where a guy does like kung fu on raptors, or in martial arts. It's amazing. It's really well choreographed, and him fighting CGI had to have taken some time, and it really looks good on film. I was really impressed. The 13th movie I watched was Deep Blue Sea. Still a great film. It's dumb, but it's great at the same time. It's got some great characters, great kills, great gore. It's impressive for the time. I think it works, but there are some problems. There's some outdated CGI. There's some, I want to say, dumb ideas that people were trying to make up as they went along, like how science works in the movie. I'm not a big science expert, but from what I've seen and read in reviews, the science doesn't make a whole lot of sense, nor does their common sense. The 14th movie I watched was Endgame. It really works. There's some good gore, badass characters, and even decent music. The music is not as awesome as 1990 The Bronx Warriors is, but it's still serviceable. The 15th movie I watched was At the Earth's Core. I really enjoyed this movie. It's not the best movie, in fact it's pretty poor in some aspects, but it's got a lot of charm. And Caroline Munro and Doug McClure and Peter Cushing, how can you go wrong with that? The 16th movie I watched was Aztec Rex. Oh boy. Talk about stretching the truth. The CGI is bad a lot of the time. There are some good kills and violence and blood throughout. I like the scenery, cinematography, the acting and characters are good too. But still, it's a pretty bad movie. The 17th movie I watched was Lords of the Deep. Now, Lords of the Deep, it's a friendly movie. It really is. It's overly whimsical, but it's got serious charm to it, which I think is really cool. Because it could have gone, let's do a horror movie. But they chose to be like The Abyss, and I think it worked in its favor. The 18th movie I watched was Shin Godzilla. An amazing piece of film. I just really enjoyed this movie. It has a lot of human elements that are incorporated into the plot that means so much to everything and everyone. Everyone has to work together to get rid of the terror that is Godzilla. People have to come up with ideas and do strategies, and they have to work through a series of commands or rankings of who tells who what to do. So it's a realistic look at how something like this would be handled. The 19th movie I watched was Rampage. I swear I could have watched this movie like twice, maybe 3 times, because the second I showed it to my dad, oh boy, he was all on it. And I was like, oh boy. Rampage is a fun movie. I think that if it was a little bit more dark, it could have been better, but I think the lighthearted nature makes it a lot more fun, so it's a hard thing to explain. Like, you want to have a darker, grittier, bloodier movie, but then you want to have fun at the same time, so you gotta kind of choose which one you want. I think Rampage balances it well. There's some pretty gruesome scenes. Not too gruesome, it's still PG-13, so yeah. And the final movie I watched in the month of July 2018 was Megalodon, the 2002 straight-to-DVD movie that was supposed to go to theaters, but it never did, and I can see why. They had a good investor at first, but I think they pulled out, or they went out of business, so they kind of went under, so the film suffered, and in that we got a decent shark movie. It has a lot of production problems, but some of the CGI looks okay, and the characters act well for the most part, get along like actual people, so... And those are it. Those are the 20 movies I watched in the month of July 2018. Stay tuned for August's Wild Watches, which will come out in September sometime, where I've watched more than this past month, because I just had a lot more to watch and a lot more time, so yeah. Anyways, Lion Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to like my Facebook page in the description below, leave comments, and to subscribe.